Yo, what's going on, guys? Arekkz here. Welcome back to another Division video. Hopefully by now you guys have had a chance to catch up on some of the awesome content we've been uploading already. We've got loads more coming your way, but today I'm sitting down with Taylor. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I am good. So just before we get started, hopefully by now you guys have, of course, you will have heard Taylor's voice on the channel already, but Taylor has now joined us. He's also been making loads more awesome Division content. He'll be working on some Anthem content. He'll just be working on everything on the channel. So here's another voice you guys will be hearing quite a lot moving forward. So get to know. But Taylor, let's start. We're talking about Dark Zone today because, of course, you and I went to different events. I went to Malmo. You went all the way to the other side of the world to
yeah,
to
it was a pretty long trip for a day, but it was absolutely worth it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's quite cool actually because then we got to speak to different people and stuff like that. Obviously, we've got we've got an interview coming up soon. We both spoken to different people, which is really cool. But obviously, the main focus while we were there was playing the Dark Zone. This was largely speaking a PvP focused event. So we played 2 of the 3 Dark Zones. We got to experience some PvP modes, of course. While we're there, testing out different abilities and stuff. So let's kind of talk about the Dark Zones first because it's the structure has fundamentally changed, right? We've gone from 1 to 3. So how do you feel just about like the split nature of the Dark Zones all up?
So first up, I love how they're split up. They all have like the different play styles to them. So like they have long lines of sight and then short lines of sight. I really think that's a good way to do it because it feels fresh every time you go into one of them. So yeah, I think they've done well there. I think
the other thing to add to it as well, one of the things that I liked is the fact that when you jump into the smaller Dark Zones, it's that you kind of have slightly more chance of meeting people. I mean, the Dark Zone Division 1 was pretty big, right? And then you had your previous player count, and if you're in the south of the Dark Zone, you run to the north to try and get involved in some activity. By the time you get there, sometimes it's basically finished. Whereas I feel like having these 3 smaller Dark Zones, you probably have slightly more chance of actually seeing people on a slightly more frequent basis, right?
Yeah, definitely. And there's a lot going on in these Dark Zones now. It's not just like PvP. You've got these new PvE activities and all the landmarks. So there's going to be something to do, and you're always going to be coming across something.
Yeah, and also just the very first one, right? I get the directions mixed up. Which was the very first one we went to? Was that south or was that east?
That was east.
East, right? Did you not get Jurassic Park vibes when the doors opened up?
Yes, so
that
much.
I was like I wanted the music to start playing because when those doors open up, like you guys can see some gameplay of that right here. But it's just like I expected a T-Rex to come out. In fact, if there's no like Easter egg for that, I'm gonna be sorely disappointed.
It's so true. I felt the exact same when we first unlocked that door.
So obviously, there are some new things to do in the Dark Zone as well. Some of the changes from before obviously brought over, but there's obviously some interesting new systems. So what is there anything that sort of like stands out? What kind of the new features that you had a chance to experience do you really like about the Dark Zone now?
So, because I wasn't a big PvP player in the first one, I thought that one of the best inclusions in the second division is the fact there's intro missions now. It sort of eases you in, shows you where the safe houses are, shows you how to extract, things like that. I think that's a really good addition to it.
Yeah. I think also on top of that, those missions are definitely really nice, and I think that's also really good for the players that perhaps kind of want to go into the Dark Zone to maybe get some loot, but don't necessarily want to, get involved in that PvP. Because I appreciate that is only like a one-time mission, but it still gives you that taste. And I think because it's quite one of those interesting things, right? Division 1, they always refer to the Dark Zone as this interesting social experiment because some people kind of go in, wanting kind of one activity, and then obviously they're getting forced into this PvP. But I think the way they've introduced this new occupied zone, I think you're probably going to get to the point where you see a lot of the kind of hardcore players focusing on there. So you might then suddenly find that the players that want a slightly more PvE focused experience might actually have that freedom in the existing Dark Zones.
Yeah, definitely. And I think by including something where it's got like no rules and it really does cater for those hardcore players, that's by where they can flex their builds, if you like to say that. It's definitely going to sort of even out for the 2 sets of fans of the Dark Zone.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's super important, right? Because I think it's and just in case anyone watching this hasn't heard about this, basically by default most of the Dark Zones are normalized, so all stats on your stuff is kind of squashed down to within like a small range. So essentially, you can kind of go in and everyone will be basically on even footing. The only difference will of course be your skill. Whereas one of those 3 Dark Zones on a rotational basis will be nominated as occupied, and when you go in there are no rules. So it's basically like traditional, all your builds matter, everything you've been working hard to do, your min-maxing is going to be really important. So that is, but I do feel like that's going to kind of, it essentially fixes that point, because I remember back in Division 1, there were always questions about, could you have different versions of Dark Zones? Could you have one for the PvE players? Could you have one for the PvP players? Or could you do this? Could you do that? And this is essentially kind of giving people the middle ground for that, right? It's giving them an option to do that, and still, if you want to focus on something like more hardcore, you do that, and if you want to just kind of piss around and have fun, then you can do the other one, right? So I think it's gonna. I'm definitely interested to see how it plays out. I'm also interested to see how frequent the occupational rotation is, occupied rotation is, because obviously it'll be kind of interesting if I imagine this probably wouldn't happen, but imagine if you were in a Dark Zone and then suddenly it switched over to occupied midway through. I would imagine you would probably have to leave in order for it to happen. But just imagine if you're like, hey, I'm minding my own business, and then suddenly someone rolls through, you're like, whoa, I was not ready for this.
And the fact is, there's no statuses above people's heads, so you can't tell if they've just been good, trying to get some good gear in there, or they've just been mowing down every player they come across. So.
Oh really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's super. I don't know. It is super hardcore because you don't know what people have been doing. Almost you pretty much don't know their history in that area.
So basically, everyone you see is an enemy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's fair. I think to kind of sort of dial back and speak about some of the other activities as well. I think the thing I do like is this new theft and greed option, and also just the triangulating location loop. I feel like it's quite cool because it actually gives slightly more reason to go rogue now. Beforehand, it was a case of you go rogue, you want to cause trouble, you want to steal some loot. Essentially, that's your reason, right?
Yeah.
Whereas now you kind of have a little loop that you can follow, and you don't have to go and kill players. You can just go around stealing things, you can go around doing all the other stuff like that, but it's one of those things where you kind of just have a little loop. If you want to drop into the Dark Zone, because some people are more than happy just to jump into a Dark Zone and just run around and make their own fun, but I think some people, when they play games, they like to have some kind of structure, some kind of flow and loop to what they do. So yeah. I think even if it's a simple thing of all right, cool, I'm going to go in the Dark Zone, and I'm going to go and collect my 5 MRE, and then I'm going to go and do X different activities, triangulate the location and find it. It just means that you can kind of jump in, and then, if you want to pass some time, you've actually got a slightly more focused activity.
Well, yeah, it also brings that that sort of option of, I've only got 20 minutes, I'm just going to jump in, do a theft and greed activity.
Yeah.
You're not tied to, I've just got the new house exotic, I need to go and extract that now, where you could be waiting, I don't know, half an hour until the Dark Zone's quiet, so it definitely caters for the sort of a quick match in the Dark Zone, if that was ever a thing.
That's definitely true. So moving away from there, kind of speaking a little bit about skills, because obviously when the game was first revealed, we obviously learned about specialization. So while we were there, I only had a chance to play as one. We didn't get to switch. We had to use whichever one we were on the console of. So I was playing as the survivalist. So I had the crossbow. Which one were you using?
I was using the 50 cal, so...
Okay, cool. So, yeah, that's the interesting thing, because that's one of the things I want to sort of I wonder whether they're going to have interesting post-launch debates about, balancing for those things, because from my experience playing in the Dark Zone in that limited time, the explosive crossbow didn't do a great deal. I shot some people, it took down some shields, but it didn't really do a great deal of damage.
Yeah.
Versus anyone with a 50 cal was almost one-shot dropping people.
I was definitely tapping a few people running around.
Yeah, so it's a really cool, interesting dynamic in the actual thing, and obviously ammo is quite limited, so it's it's not something you're going to be using all the time. But I do feel like that's going to be quite interesting because if you are running in, obviously you can change specialization, so it's not like you're going to be locked. You can just be like, all right, I'm going to take it in. But I wonder whether we're going to see this idea that essentially everyone that goes in the Dark Zone just picks up a 50 cal because it's just going to drop people. So that might be an interesting thing they have to balance a little bit later, because definitely when I was playing, it was, when you get hit by that, you might as well just lay your weapons down.
Yeah, definitely. I was playing I think it was domination match, and there was one person capping a flag, and I snuck all the way around him, just aimed in on him, and dropped him in one. So,
yeah, that is harsh. But I think, although having said that, I guess the thing that will probably pull people away from those things is that one of the other things we got a chance to experience was that there are some of the skills, they have an additional mod that you can choose if you have that specialization. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but there are some that essentially, take something like Pulse, you'll have mod A and mod B, but there might be a mod C if you have that specialization. So it might be one of those things where like 50 cal might be the weapon that you want to use, but if you decide that you really like, say, I know for example the turret has a specialization specific one.
Yeah.
Can't remember who that's tied to. So I feel like that could be a way to sort of like even it out, or maybe make it so people don't gravitate towards that stuff so much. And also, I guess it also depends on like the frequency that ammo drops. Because in truth, I didn't actually see a great deal of that ammo dropping. You know, like I get involved in some battles. I use up the ammo, and then I'd probably spend a good chunk of my time, or at least, you know, in the limited time we were playing, I didn't really pick up a great deal more. So maybe they won't be as big of a problem as we think.
I'm sure I heard that to get some of the specialized ammo in the Dark Zone, you'll have to open up the supply drops, the Dark Zone supply drops.
Oh, yes.
So I think for somebody to be like really overpowered, constantly shooting with their 50 cal, they're also going to be, you know, risking a lot by constantly hitting the Dark Zone supply drops. So I guess that's one way of balancing it out.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So on the skill front, did you get a chance to test out many of the new skills, or at least some of the returning ones as well? Like anything that kind of stood out to you?
So I was pulse a lot of the time. I was helping my team with sort of recon, and the drone as well was a lot of fun to use, the assault drone.
Yeah, the drone. I feel like the drone again. This is one of those. It's impossible to say earlier. Like when you go to like an event like this and you play for a period of like 2-3 hours against people in like a condensed environment, it's impossible to kind of try and infer what the meta might be, right? But like when we were playing towards the end of it, essentially everyone had an assault drone, because it got to the point where people were like, you know what, this is actually, because the thing is, it's not that the assault drone, at least from my experience, the assault drone wasn't overly powerful, but it was just always there to the point where when you like you run out, right, and then you're like, oh no, I'm not safe because I'm being shot by a drone and I'm being shot by a player, so you kind of just, it almost just forces you back in cover.
Yeah, exactly. It seemed like it was a go-to on the trip, but like you said, it wasn't overpowered as well, like it was dealing loads and loads of damage, but it was just there, and you know, it was just a little bit annoying. Yeah, that's the thing, right? So, but I do feel like it's gonna be one of those. I mean, like I probably want to be that guy that runs out with like an assault drone and a flame turret and just like just sits there. It's like, yeah, stay away, stay back. I wouldn't expect anything different from you.
I know, right? I've got to do it. I have to use the flame turret. It's basically like it's got my name on it, right? But then I think I had a chance to test out the hive, but the healing modifier for it was actually quite interesting. I mean, it functions essentially like the support station from Division 1, only it doesn't heal quite so frequently, because of course the support station was, you know, it was like in a circle and then you just sit in it and while you're there you're healing, whereas this one you have to wait for the drones to physically come out and like hit you to like give you little bursts of heals. So in that vein, I guess maybe it's probably like a more balanced version of that, but it was still quite useful.
Yeah, they've definitely looked at health and like how healing works in this one, and I personally think they've nailed it this time round. There's not like too many healing options, but the healing options that are there are definitely viable. So
yeah, and I think they also, you know, have the fact that you have to hold down your your armor kit to heal that. Like I think it kind of puts more kind of impact or importance on like on healing. It's not one of those things you can kind of just press and get a quick heal. Like if you wanna go and like heal your, you know, you have to actually commit to it, right? You almost have to like go behind cover and hold down, because you can't just, you know, in the past you pop a med kit, you pop a heal, you pop, you know, whatever you want to do, and like your health just boosts back up. So I think like now it has to be a more conscious choice. It's not something you can do quite as quickly. So yeah, I think that'll definitely be interesting to see how it plays out in battles. Well, I think for the time being that's probably like a quick overview. I mean, unless there's anything else that sort of like jumps out to you. Obviously, we had a chance to play the PvP modes. I didn't get a chance to sort of play them too much, but I mean, they're some of the returning modes, right? They play pretty well. It's nice to have it in as an option for people that like it, but you know, I think for us the core focus was, of course, the Dark Zone, because that gave us a good chance to really experience some of the new stuff, right?
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say the both of us aren't like the biggest of PvP fans, but we definitely were with what we played.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like around Division's launch, like for the first half, like Division like 1 point, like all the way up to I'd probably say like 1.4, 1.5. Like I used to be like Dark Zone was essentially where I spent most of my time. So like PvP was a big thing for me, but I definitely like towards the end of it I might have sort of tailed off a bit, but I could definitely see myself coming back a lot more in Division 2 with that, because it's just a really fun thing. Like I think the reason I've always liked the Dark Zone is because I come from like a World of Warcraft PvP server background, so you know I like the whole like, you know, you can fight anyone at any time kind of thing. So I'm definitely I'm definitely going to sort of be jumping back into that quite a lot. But anyway, for the time being, that is pretty much it for this one. So again, if you guys have missed any of our Division content so far, then be sure to go back. You can check out the videos. There's already some that Taylor's been uploading already, and we'll have plenty more coming your way very soon over the coming weeks and whatnot. We've got lots of exciting stuff coming your way. So essentially, if you're hyped for Division, make sure you keep it locked. Thanks very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to check out some more awesome stuff from us here at Arekkz Gaming, then you should definitely try to catch 269 and Paradise Central streaming 6 days a week. You can find a link to the multi-stream in the description box down below. They play a wide range of games, and what's more, we also have the Endgame store. By watching their streams, you earn currency, and you can redeem that currency on the Endgame store for really cool prizes. Those can range from things like games, comics, and figures, all the way up to controllers, capture cards, and even consoles. So definitely drop by and become part of the community. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, then make sure you're subscribed and be sure to click on that little bell icon to turn on notifications so you don't miss our next upload. You can watch more videos by clicking on the options here, but once again, thanks very much for watching, take it easy, catch you next time, peace out.